In this episode, I'm here with Adam Rice, the CEO, and Amanda Hall, the COO of ISI Elite Training. Adam says he went from being a chubby kid to founding one of the fastest growing boutique fitness franchises with a vision to open 400 locations by 2025. Amanda, the COO, is a brand developer and strategist with a reputation for driving revenue and scalability in the franchise space. ISI Elite Training is known for its variability of workouts and knowledgeable coaches with 70 territories across the U.S. We filmed this podcast at their HQ in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we discuss growing ISI Elite Training and building a successful fitness business. Stay tuned for some valuable insights on entrepreneurship and the fitness industry. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the GSD Show. I'm here with Adam Rice, CEO of ISI Elite Training, and their COO, Amanda Hall. And we're actually here at HQ. Yes?
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Thank
show.
you.
Yes,
And thanks
excited.
for having
Thank
me
you.
here. So I was super impressed when I first heard about you, and I saw you on LinkedIn, I think, and you post some stuff on there. I was like, who is this guy? And then I noticed that we actually were working with a couple ISIs, maybe both in pre-sale or one was in pre-sale. I heard
We're
from
both
my
in
team.
pre-sales, yep.
Both in pre-sale. And I was like, are there multiple locations? Like, oh yeah, there's quite a few. So I started looking into who Adam Rice was. And then I was like, okay, he's putting out more good content than just the one thing I saw. Okay, it was pretty good, pretty smart. I looked at the website. I'm like, good concept. And then I'm going back and forth with you to set up a time to meet up, which is now. And then all of a sudden, you reply to a random email. You're like, I'm like, wait, Amanda? Because I knew you from before.
Yes.
And so obviously you're building a dream team because I know Amanda. She's good at what she does. But your concept's amazing. So before we get into what you're doing and also like, yeah, your gyms are doing really well. People are growing.
Yep.
People are getting more and more units because of it. I kind of want to ask you, Adam, like, where did this begin? How did this start?
Yeah. So, well, I always tell people it started at when I was 16 and overweight.
Okay.
So really what led me into fitness was I was really good at baseball. And I say that because like I was leading the state in Iowa, but 4A, but wasn't getting any offers. And I was about 280 pounds.
Wait, hold on. 280 pounds.
Yep.
Playing baseball at 16.
Yep.
Okay, go on.
Big boy.
Just want to see. And you were good. So you're like a Babe Ruth out there.
Yeah, I could hit, but I couldn't run, couldn't field, couldn't do
Someone
any of
was
that.
stealing for you. Once you got to
That's
first,
right.
we stepped to the side.
That's right.
Okay.
So it was my junior year, and I wanted to play for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I was at a camp and was walking on the warning track with the coach, and he's like, and I wasn't getting any offers, not getting recruited at all. But I was hitting like 420. So all the
Wow.
statistics should say like this guy should be getting D1 offers left and right.
Right.
So anyways, he told me that day, he's like, hey, you're never going to play at the D1 level just because you're a liability on the base paths. So a really nice way of saying you're way too overweight and unathletic to play at that level.
Would you rather hear you're a liability or you're a little overweight? Because I feel like a little overweight is
Yeah.
less screwed. A liability sounds like I'm
Liability is
just
tough.
a problem
It's
all over the
Tough, yeah. That night I remember going home and I started Googling, how do I lose weight? How do I get faster? All of that. And ended up really over the course of the next 6 months losing about 70 pounds. It's funny. I ended up going to a junior college my first year in Chicago, went to Elgin Community College, led the nation in stolen bases. So went
Wow.
had this big transformation that happened and ended up playing Division I baseball at Coastal Carolina.
Wow.
So that's really where my interest in fitness started, just from actually putting in the work. It radically changed my life and the experiences I got to have and all of that. And so was always an entrepreneur, like as a kid though, like was the kid with a lemonade stand. Have a really funny story about getting like fake Jordans from overseas and then getting stuck at customs and having to pay like $6,000. But always kind of had that spirit. And so it was my last year of college, had to get my internship done. So there was an Anytime Fitness pretty close to college campus. Luckily in that time, we were ranked like 4th in the country and my name was pretty well known in Myrtle Beach. And so I was like, listen, I'll pay you $800. And mind you, I don't have $800. I'm in college. but I went to that owner. I was like, I'll pay you $800. I'll start your personal training program. You got to give me credit for your internship program, and I get to keep all the revenue. And he's like, done. Right? For him, it was like $800.
Right.
He's like, whatever you do, just whatever.
Yeah.
So anyways, like 3 months into this thing, I was making $25,000 a month.
And you were paying him $800 a month?
800 was my overhead. Yeah. So I was making a ton.
It's funny. I after the show, I got to talk to you. It's very similar stories in a lot of ways. Well, the same thing, right? Like I learned how to get in shape for a sport, and then afterwards started a training company, and same thing. I paid a flat fee, want to keep all the revenue, but we'll talk more. Interesting. Okay, so keep going though. Keep going.
Yeah. So opened a small little personal training studio, and a limo company, and a sports bar. All at like 23, and so I feel like I was kind of, you said you were like unfocused and like you dove in all of these things, and that was me early on, was just trying to figure out everything.
So you're like, your hook was like, look, I'm going to help you get in shape, look good,
And then drink down.
and then I'm going to go ahead and have you take a limo, looking even better, to a club where your new looks can help you win whatever you need out there.
You got it.
It's a great combination.
What's actually terrible is my sports bar was 4 doors down from my personal training studio, and we had happy hour specials for just our men.
It's a very short limo ride.
Yes. So
It's a great joint venture.
Yeah, it was like lifetime value, right?
Right.
But anyways, I ended up hating all that, and really fitness is my passion, and really helping people in that way. So the reason we changed the company name, it was called Beachbody Fitness, and I'm 21, 22. I don't know anything about intellectual property, trademarks, anything like that. So I got a letter from Beachbody, and they're like, yeah, you got to stop using this name. So had to change the name. And at that time, I was training a lot of athletes, being that I was a college athlete. So wanted to get more into general population. And so we were at this time where we had to change the name, rebrand it and everything. And I was actually at church, and the sermon was on Proverbs 27:17, which is iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another. So it's just a great theme around accountability, teamwork, community, which is what our brand is all about. And so that's where ISI comes from. Started it in 2013, opened 5 locations, 2013 to 2018, and then started franchising in 2019, and opened our first franchise location 2 months before COVID hit. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I love how the end of the story opens another story.
Yeah.
Because you go, and then that was it. That's the end of the story. We opened a franchise location 2 months before COVID, and that's where the story ends. No, that's not where the story ends.
Yeah.
So how was that for you? Because now you had your first location going into COVID. I'm sure you already had some prospects for other locations as well. Where was your mind at during that whole thing?
Honestly, like, it sounds weird, but it was a blessing, because I mean, we weren't at where we're at today with, all these doors open across the country and in development and pre-sales and all that. So we were really managing, and we were able to deliver and support to those franchise owners that we're in. So, and then also they were in the Southeast, so a little bit different game with.
They opened up a little sooner, right?
A lot soon. Well, in South, it's weird. Like, so you're sitting in North Carolina right now, but I live in South Carolina, which is 10 minutes down the road. Radically different around policies and all of that. So in South Carolina, there was never even a mask mandate during COVID at all.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it was wild.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait, like you didn't see masks out there?
No, you did. You 100% saw
They just weren't
them,
mandated.
but it wasn't like, they weren't coming in and like shutting down your business or anything like that. Versus North Carolina, very different. So
Arizona was shut down.
Yeah.
And we weren't even the worst one. Like New Jersey was really shut down. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So we did really well. So we kept at that time we had locations in pre-sales, all of our corporate locations. We kept 83%, I think is the number, on revenue throughout all of COVID by obviously switching over to virtual. And then we were still running a full schedule at most locations outdoor.
Yeah.
Because again, being in the Southeast. So where we're at today, so fast forward about 2 years later, we're at 29 doors open. We're close to 90 awarded across the country, and that's where we're at. Excited.
Are your studios open 6 days a week, 7 days a week, 5
7.
days? 7. So Sundays too.
Yep.
What's your Saturday schedule look like? Are you guys half day?
Yeah. So we're
like 8 to 1?
2 to 3 in the 2 to 3 sessions in the morning.
2 to 3
and
sessions.
Same thing on Sundays.
Okay. And so how many classes do you have a week? Do you guys know? Like average studio?
Around 36 a week.
and you fit about 32 members in a class.
Yep.
So you could probably uncomfortably, with some cancellations because they can't find a spa, but you could comfortably get to like 800 to 1,000 members
Yeah.
uncomfortably, but you could. But your sweet spot's probably that 600 mark, right? Five,
Yeah.
600.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
because we've got some locations running 50 to 55 sessions a week.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's really when they open, they're around 35, 36, and then they stay there until they reach exponential growth. Because there's that balance, right? You want
Yeah.
sessions to be packed because the energy and all that.
Yeah. The trickiest part about like scaling that point, because obviously everybody wants those 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock classes, right?
Yep.
The early mom classes, everybody wants those. But what I've noticed the tricky spot is going, how do we really get those non-prime times filled? Like we've got to really attack those as if it's another business.
Right.
So like hitting those members really, really hard with referrals because birds of a feather flock together. If you're not working at, if you're working out at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, so are your friends. Like they're
Right.
not working either. That's what
Yep.
they're available to do. But that's been a big thing. For you guys right now, what's like a good break even point? How many members before like we're like, okay, now at this point we are breaking even?
Yeah, you can take this one.
Yeah, I mean, really, the 250 members is that threshold across the board where you're breaking even.
Cool.
So, I mean, anything above that, right? And 350 members. I mean, our goal is obviously to get to the 600 member mark,
Yeah.
but we're sprinting to that 250 member mark as fast as we
Right,
can.
let's get in the black
Absolutely.
quick. And what's your average dollar per member at your studios? That would
Uh,
include ancillary, all that.
Right. So, I mean, you're really looking, depends on the market because our pricing is tiered based off the market. So,
Yeah.
really around 150 a month
150 a month.
is an average if you put it across the board between unlimited and packages. And we also offer the ability for drop-ins as well.
Awesome.
What's interesting is like we have a location development in San Francisco right now,
Mm-hmm.
and actually obviously real estate is almost double, right?
Yeah.
But because of the tiered pricing structure, their break even was actually like 10 heads less than say a Charlotte location.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Most people think like I'm in New York City, I got to get 100 or 200 more members. It's just not the case.
It's a no, because if your business is doing like 10% profit,
Yep.
right, which is considered like at the bottom level of a healthy business, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we got to get to at least 10%. Really, you want to be at 25, 20 if you can. That's good, really good, healthy business. But if you're running at a 10% profit, if you even increase your pricing by 10%, because usually no expenses to it, you just double your profit.
Yep. Yeah.
That's a 10% increase in price is a 100% increase in profit, which is really good. So I agree. I don't think you have to do much because you're playing a volume game in order
Right.
to really get what you need out of that business. What's the model look like? Like obviously you guys have studio managers. You call them studio managers. You call them general managers.
Facility managers.
So yeah, I notice the terminology is
Use
different everywhere.
facility.
Yeah.
So facility managers, and then from there are your front desk people, the people that do sales, or do you have front desk people, or how does that work? What are the roles?
Yeah, really structured facility manager, and then we have our front desk, our sales leaders, and they are the ones doing
Yep.
the sales. And then our coaches are, we say, behind the glass. So anything that's happening on our training floor, they also are a part of the sales process because there's a handoff there. But
Yep.
then our coaches, so it's very simple from a team perspective. And we have a head performance coach that really oversees the full product in their coaching team.
Love that. And your studio or facility manager, is that right? Did I say it right?
You got it.
Facility
You
manager.
got it.
It's 5 burpees, by the way, if you get it
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, hey, that's fine. I'm ready to go. So for your facility manager, what is their main KPI or whatever KPIs you have in order to determine am I winning or losing if I'm in that seat?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's much of the same fundamentals as this wide industry, right? So you got number one, you need to know your lead to member ratio. So then what is our attrition? So looking at attrition, looking at new joins, looking at leads, looking at bookings, looking at close rate, show rate, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But then also a big KPI is really understanding your lifetime value of a member, and then some owners will put this on the managers. I'd say most our owners are kind of taking this as understanding. Some people call it ROAS, but your return on your marketing spend.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding, if my cost per acquisition or my cost per conversion is $200, but my lifetime value is averaging at 15, why would I not be spending a ton of money until I hit that tipping point, right? That's the one thing I realize most people just don't measure it.
Well, because people don't do CFO math.
Right.
They do today math. And,
Yeah.
and so they're just like looking at, well, I got 20 members and each one's paying me $150. So I made $3,000,
Right.
but I spent $3,000 in marketing. This seems like a waste of money.
Right.
Why do I need to spend $3,000 to make three? But in reality, if you, let's say, got $150 per member,
Yeah.
what's the average attrition in a model like yours? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we're
I
typically
know.
about 5%.
So if you're at 5%, that means you're retaining members for 20 months.
Yep.
Yes.
So if you're retaining members for 20 months times 150, what's that? $3,000. One member is $3,000,
Right.
not the 20 that you got, right?
Yep.
One member's $3,000. So if you got 20 of them, you just made $60,000
Yep.
and you spent three. So that's the math. But a lot of people don't do the CFO math. They do the today math, and the today math, it's messing with them. So, and I think a lot of things too is also, even if you did do the CFO math, if you don't have the money to go ahead and make that decision off that, because it's laggard, right?
Right.
Then we have to say, okay, well, how do we collect as much as we can in the beginning?
Right.
So how do we sell supplements in retail day one or orientation or week one so that we can go ahead and cover ad costs for that particular person? If I was able to sell $200 to $300 worth of stuff on day one outside of the membership with a 50% margin, well, if my customer acquisition cost was about $150, $200, there we go.
Yep.
All
Yep.
good.
Yeah.
Or enrollment fee or whatever it is.
Right.
Right.
Very, very easy. But yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people aren't taking the time to do that. Money, I think, is the least understood for small business.
I agree.
Of the top 5 reasons businesses go out of business, 2 of the top 3 have to do with financial literacy, like just understanding money.
Yeah. I agree. I
We
mean,
see it.
it's
Yeah.
we see it. So
So for your front desk people, you said they're in sales. What are the things that I know the facility manager, they're in charge of like making sure these things are hit. But what are your front desk people really accountable to doing? Like, what do they spend most of their day doing?
Yeah, and I would just say that, I mean, an average day facility manager is really laying out the goals for the team, and they're already planning for the month, but that backs into a week, which backs into the day. So how are their sales leaders spending their time? How many outbound calls do they have to make, right? Where are they going out from a grassroots perspective? Because sometimes leads aren't all through phone calls, right? Also, referrals are a big driver for them. So they're laying out that daily action that each sales leader is taking for the day. Number of calls, number of outbound reaches. Sometimes it's event-led from leads from that perspective. And then they have a goal for that day for new joins, right? And that a lot of that depends. So there's a couple goals, right? Your new joins for the day are also led from your first-time visits that you're trying to get in the door that day. So their primary metrics in sales are all focused on growing the member base. It's also retaining, right? So I don't want to say retention isn't there, but we always tell coaches too, a big part of your product is why your members keep coming back.
Right.
So the coaches close the back door, right? They're the ones that give that experience, hold that relationship. Not to say that sales leaders don't as well, but they play a bigger role in it once that member is really in and bought into the brand and driving that community. Whereas the front of the house, from a sales perspective, we have what we call Win the Day Tracker. So all of our locations it allows that facility manager to enter in their goals, calculate that for the month, and then report at the end of the day. So sales leaders can add in, their data information for the day, and it gives it sends a text message out to our owners. It sends it to us the next morning by 10 o'clock. They have to have their information entered in, and we're able to see, how many leads did they get, what was their first time visits, what were their new joins. So that's keeping it top of mind. I mean, you're only going to be as successful as what you're spending your time and energy around. The more we can simplify it so sales leaders are very clear in what they're going after and rally them around it, the more successful that facility manager is going to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. For a franchisee, what do you think makes a great franchisee? Like what does that person look like?
for me, I probably have a slightly different perspective than you because you're in it with them every single day, as am I. But I spend a lot of my time on the franchise development side. So that's really where I'm looking at, number one, a little bit of business acumen, right? But I have also seen like one of our top owners was a head coach at Orange Theory. And so she's first business she's ever owned. She's 29 years old, but we talked about emotional intelligence on, our episode on the Train for Life podcast, and she has that. right? She's able to hire the right people, deploy them, hold them accountable, and then offer a great product. So I think for me, it comes down to leadership 100%. If I look at in our brand, you look at the top 5 locations, you look at, some of the bottom 5, it's a direct reflection between leadership, between having the right people in the right seat. And then again, how bought in is that owner, because everything starts and, rises at the top, also falls at the top.
I agree.
So I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, I mean,
additional to
I think the best franchisee, we use the term franchise partner in the sense of us partnering with them. I think they have to have a passion for people. At the end of the day, they have to understand that they're starting a business and they're only going to be as successful as their people. So if you don't have a passion for people, say that you're a doer. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're not able to translate that to owning a business and empowering a team to do it because you have that passion for people and seeing them successful, I don't think you're going to win. Or you're going to work really, really hard. It's not going to be as enjoyable. So passion for people, especially in fitness, I think sometimes we think of passion. I want to open a facility because of the members. The best in this business, the best franchise partners open it because they want to build a team up that then transforms those members. And then I think in franchising in general, we've already created the system. The product is here. So if someone who comes in and knows how to leverage and follow a system, so I say follow it and then leverage it, meaning use every tool available to them, get it in front of their teams. They get on the calls, they get in the systems, they understand the rollouts. Then they empower their team to deliver that. They following the system. So, who Adam was speaking of, Layla, she takes everything that we roll out and her team leverages it to the fullest.
Right.
And she
Isn't that
she doesn't
refreshing, by
create,
the way?
she
How
doesn't create her
refreshing is
own. She's not out creating something that is, it wouldn't be like me creating Amanda's facility, right? It's following the system. So and then what you can do with that, I think, just compounds. You can execute that much faster. You're not trying to recreate the wheel. You're actually working within the system. So I think the best of the best leverage and use the system for what it is instead of trying to recreate their own.
I agree. It's funny. I think that brings up a good point. What I've noticed makes really good franchisees, many of the franchises we work with, is knowing when to turn on and off the entrepreneur brain. Because there's definitely advantages to having an entrepreneur type mindset. Usually that's in the recruiting, right? How to find good people, how to be innovative, problem solve real quick.
That's great.
How to create, cast vision and be able to express that vision with stories. These are really great marks of a CEO and an entrepreneur. The part you got to turn off when you commit to a franchise is adapting the brand on your own, as opposed to letting the brand, because you're technically the CEO. This is your vision as far as the brand goes. So, hey, we're not going to sell, this if the brand's not selling this. We're not going to do this type of a workout if the brand's not doing this. But it's so hard to turn that off because a typical CEO or entrepreneur has that need to create. And if they can learn how to toggle that off when they're a franchisee. They're not a franchise. Like, your job is not to turn that off.
Right.
You need to keep that on all the time.
Yep.
But for them, if they can learn, okay, I got to turn that off. My entrepreneur brain's got to turn off here, but where it's got to turn on, vision casting, recruiting, culture development, right? Like this, problem solving, big problem solves. This is where my brain's got to work. And anybody listening that's a franchisee, it's hard. Because you want to be that guy,
right?
And I say, not from Jersey, so guy means girl and guy, boy. But that's another thing we got to learn, right? Like, Jersey language. But you want to be that person, right? That like can be the entrepreneur, and you just got to learn at what point do you turn it off,
right?
Or
I think even at the understanding the pathway and how to communicate it, because like for instance, we're as an emerging brand, not a lot of emerging brands have an FAC, so Franchise Advisory Council at this stage, but we do, because we're both huge believers, and I know her time at Burn Boot Camp, she saw a huge added benefit of that, is making sure that our franchise partners know there is a group of people who, they have a pathway to share ideas, and that we are listening to them, and it is a partnership, because I think a lot of brands out there are like, no, we're doing it this way, and that's it, and yeah, I mean, someone's got to be the decision maker, right? You're never going to make everyone happy.
No.
But I think for us, it's been really good to share through transparency. So the way that we make our decisions through two things. Number one, does it make our franchise partners more money? Does it make their lives easier? If we can check yes, if either of those check no, we don't move forward with whatever it is, technology, systems, processes, whatever it is. So I think understanding the pathway to be able to communicate that is because the whole story is the Big Mac, right, was created by an actual franchisee of McDonald's.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And I studied McDonald's story quite a bit, so I didn't know that though. Yeah, it's funny you say so make more money and life easier. So at Loudrumor, ours is more members, more money, more minutes.
There you go.
Right? More minutes being more time.
Right.
And even though the first two sound the same, they're not, because you can make more money without getting more members. You can just make more money from the members that you got, increasing pricing, ancillary sales, all that, or just by hiring efficiently and being more efficient with your costs. But more members obviously kind of ties in. But yeah, if you could just focus on those things at Loudrumor, that's a big thing, right? Somebody goes, hey, I've got an idea. Great. Before we go on, does it help our members get more members, more money, more minutes?
Right.
Kind of. Already to a rough start, but let's hear it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but if they're like, yes, it's like, all right. Let's hear it. Right. If they're like, not really, it's like, I'm not wasting my time. I'm sorry. It might be cool. You probably saw it on Instagram or something, but we're not. Right. We can't move forward with it. It's got to, Mark Zuckerberg, his was, 2012, go mobile. Everything was go mobile. Right. So people are like, hey, I got an idea. Great. Does it help us go mobile? Hey, we just hired this guy. Can he help us go mobile? We're looking at acquiring this company. Does it help us go mobile faster? Right. And that was it. Southwest was wheels up. Does it help us get more planes in the air faster? That was the only thing they cared about. We got an idea for this. That's really cool. How does it help our planes get up faster? Well, it doesn't, but it's a better experience. Not right now.
Right. Yeah.
Planes got to get off the ground.
Yep.
So it's great that you've got that vision and that commitment to it, because I think that's one of the things that CEOs typically lack. And eventually, as they mature, they get better at it. It's just that focus. Right. Like, got to stay in this lane. We can bring in new things as long as they're in the lane, but got to stay in the lane. Yeah. It's really cool. How do you two work together? Because obviously CEOs and COOs are typically different personality traits. And often there's things that bug you about him and there's things that bug you about her, but you appreciate it because you understand it comes with a package of goodness too. Yeah. So what are the things that kind of tend to bug you every once in a while that he does? Because there's things. Everyone's got it. Everyone's got it. And it's okay. We're all love.
How deep are we going with this? No, just
deep
kidding.
as you want to go. As deep as you want to go.
No, I think it is true. We definitely are different, but complementary. Adam's definitely the entrepreneur, so he comes with a million ideas.
No.
Yeah. No, it's funny.
Why can't we do this today?
It's funny. If we're really honest, so I'm about to hit 2 years here, and we've talked about this traction EOS, and we do annual planning, and so of course I show up with my annual planning and give this really great directive advice. But I think the first year it was, Adam said, you said no to me a lot, like in ideas. And he said it would feel frustrating. And certain things I probably shouldn't have said no to. I should have said, tell me more, right? But I was laser focused in the first year here of, this is what you brought me on to do in this mission, and we need to get these things in place before I could maybe say yes. So, I think there's definitely, he's that dreamer, visionary. I mean, not to say that I don't have those elements, but I also can be very laser focused on what do we need to do to put things in place, to scale and to drive the needle across the board and to ensure that we've locked in on the fundamentals. And that's probably a little bit more of my focus, but it's funny. We very much complement each other in that. And it was when he said that to me, I'm like, yeah, I did say no a lot. I probably could have listened to some of those ideas a little bit more, because later they maybe would have circled around like, tell me more. Maybe not now.
Well, can you imagine the chaos if you said yes to everything?
Oh, yeah. Well,
the chaos. These poor people. Wouldn't be able to take it. But so at Loudrumor, we call it the creator and the builder. You Adam, would be the creator. You're the builder.
Right.
EOS, I think, calls it visionary and integrator, right? Which I always just felt weird being called the visionary. I don't know why. It just seems so weird to me, being called the visionary. Like, I'm a visionary. I don't know why creator sounds a little cooler. Like, I like creating things. Going to you.
What bothers me about
she says no a lot.
She says no a lot. No, I think again, I think it's a little bit of a different thing, because her and I met. I was actually met her at Clean Juice, was just touring, and you didn't share really any of your story and how you got here, but to take a long story short, you know, we were only at, how many doors open were we at when you came here?
8.
Yeah,
8 doors,
8.
yeah.
So incredibly young as a brand to bring on a COO, right? But I think for me, like, one of my biggest things was most founders. So you have a founder and CEO, right? A lot of times, but most of the time, founders aren't great CEOs. They're great at getting it to a certain place, and then you got to do
Eventually,
it.
you got to pass the baton.
Yeah. And so I think from that standpoint, you know, I quickly got into franchising and realized, like, I don't know. I know how to open and operate a gym. I don't know franchising halfway because I don't have any experience in it. That's mostly what it is, right? And so for me, it was, how do I finding the more the who than the how, right? And so Amanda and I met. She was at a point in time where she was a COO at another really good brand, and but wanted to get back into fitness. And she's like, "Hey, whenever you're ready for a COO, let me know." So I go back and I'm like, "Well, damn, I know she's not gonna be cheap, so I got to figure this out." And ultimately, you know, it aligned to where what she was looking for, what I really needed, matched up. So though she's COO, I also, I think she does a lot more than the normal COO does. Like, and I think I give her a lot more leeway than most COOs have. So she makes a lot of the majority of decisions when it comes down. It's joint, right? But really depending on her. I mean, she took a brand from 17 to 270.
Yeah.
Right. That's the pathway we're going. So to not be able to make the mistakes that I'm sure she made or saw being made is, I mean, the amount of money,
the more expensive
experience.
thing is not the salary, it's the mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
I 100% get that.
So
In other words, nothing annoys me. Nothing annoys Adam about me.
yeah.
I was waiting for him to say something
I'm
but she does
gonna
do
be
this.
nice.
Yeah, Adam Rice. We're going to change it to Adam Nice. Okay, well, guys, I've appreciated hearing your guys' story and how you guys look at business. Honestly, I could feel like I can go on for hours too. And you know, we got to have you back on the show. You say you're in Phoenix every once in a while or Peoria, so whenever you are, we got to have you back out here. And I'm pretty sure I'll find my way back out in Charlotte too soon. But great having you guys on the show in your office. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the next one.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
For everybody watching, we'll see you next week.